Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Live back at Deep River. We have one more show after this show here. This is Drinking Bros Sports, Tailgate Legend Show, where we tailgate with legends.
Here we are with a legend right now.
We are. We have a really big show today, but before I introduce the cast and the crew, Chef Puhak, what are you cooking today?
So I made a meat rub because I like rubbing meat, and I rubbed 11 pounds of pork belly for today. And I'm going to make some cowboy crack pork belly burnt ends. Is
that a little foreshadowing?
Yeah.
The cowboy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I ended up making a barbecue sauce, and we can talk about the specifics later, but I used Deep River's, I think it's called Bad Barista Vanilla Latte Ale.
Okay.
I reduced it down and did some sexy things with it, and then we're going to make some smashed potato latkes.
Wow, that's another cowboy dish.
Yeah.
I guess right now we should probably spill the beans on who
go.
the guest is today. We have Robert Jones, linebacker from the Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl champion, father of six,
Wow,
and
man.
newly
Granddaughter, Lena.
born yesterday. Congratulations.
Yeah?
New Year's Eve.
Wait,
She's born New Year's Eve,
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas
Yeah.
I'm
Eve,
sorry,
Oh,
not
Christmas
New Year's
Eve.
Eve. So I'm already thinking I'm like a new year, but
Yeah.
Christmas Eve, not New Year's Eve. But yeah, Christmas Eve.
Congratulations.
Amazing.
We also have Boston Joe with us. Boston Joe's our sports nerd.
I like to call
he
him
did so
BJ.
good. He started out as an intern, came on the show for a sports minute. The fans loved him. And so we have him here, which helps Joe and I out a lot because we don't know a lot about sports.
I just like calling
We
him
don't.
BJ.
And I do like calling him BJ, old Boston Joe. Mr. Jones, man, it means a lot that you would come out the day after Christmas to come and hang out with us and tailgate with us going into this weekend. I know we have a game tonight.
We do, man.
What game are we watching tonight?
Watching the Raiders. I don't even know. I think they playing the Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all I
Is
do
it
is
the
keep
Dolphins?
up with who my son's playing. I mean,
Yeah.
who my son, what day they playing. That's it.
Now, do you have a hard time keeping up? Because all your kids are involved in professional sports
I
or
keep
collegiate.
up with all of them. Trust me, man. Even the girls. I mean, if I don't keep up with the girls' schedule, I will hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do you have like somebody that just plans all that out for you? Because I think
I
having,
feel like you need like a planner.
yeah, because
No,
everybody,
Professional planner.
that's why I got to keep my phone charged.
With that giant battery right there.
Everybody, yeah, I got a DeWalt.
Sponsor us, DeVault. Go ahead.
I got everybody's schedule, what everybody's doing. We all keep each other's location, so.
because Zay plays for the Raiders,
Yes.
and then send me down the list. I know Caleb's playing. Where is he at? Right, he's free agent.
No. Caleb is probably done playing.
He's done.
Yeah, he's probably done
Okay.
because it's too many years. But he used to be with Minnesota, so Caleb is done. Zay is with the Raiders. My youngest son's with NC State, and they have a bowl game
What is
next
his
week.
name?
against-
Levi?
Levi.
Levi. Yeah, that's my son's name.
Is it?
Yeah, I was doing some research on it. Yeah.
The tax collector.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So Levi's at NC State.
He's at NC State,
that's
yeah, and they
convenient,
playing the
'cause
Gator Bowl next week, so I'm excited about.
Go Wolfpack.
I don't know if we're gonna get to see that or not. But
Yeah. I mean, are you missing a lot of games because of COVID? Or are you having to stay
missing a
home
lot
for
of
them?
games. Missing a lot of games.
But I mean, you just say like, I'm Robert Jones. I can come in if I want.
No, I don't do that, man.
No.
But,
seems like they would
but
let the
honestly,
parents, though.
I'm like a homebody. I like to stay home and. I got a big television, so I like watching it. I can go to the bathroom when I want. I got my food. I got everything right there. I don't know. Some people like going to the games,
Sure.
I like just chilling at the house.
Do you ever tailgate at games?
I tailgate.
Have you ever been back to Dallas for a tailgate?
I've been to Dallas for a tailgate. Yes, I have.
What's your favorite
Yeah, I
place
was
to
going
tailgate?
to ask him that, man, because you've been with a number of teams and all over the nation,
Yeah.
man.
No, I've been to Dallas to tailgate. They actually had a little deal in the parking lot right outside the stadium. They had a bunch of guys that come up and do appearances, and it was actually one of my first tailgates because I was kind of bitter when I left the NFL, meaning I couldn't play no more. So, I was just kind of sad and depressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you still want to play,
Right.
And then they built that nice new stadium. They tore down Texas Stadium, and you do that right after I'm gone and I'm done with my NFL career, and then Say, hey, come on up. We got a bunch of stuff going on. You get to go sit in Jerry Jones' suite during the game. And I'm like, I don't want to sit in the suite, but if you guys are going to pay us some money to come up and sign some autographs, I'd do that. And when I came up, we sat in the parking lot, man. We got drunk.
No, you did.
Sideways?
Yeah, you guys get a little sideways, huh?
We're about getting shitty on this podcast.
We got drunk, and then we went into Jerry Jones's suite and just enjoyed it. So I loved it, man. So after that, then it was on. So I wanted to tailgate now any chance I could.
So you saying that you had a party with Jones? With
Jerry wasn't in there.
No.
I think it was, he owned the stadium, so he
Sure.
had an extra room and said, just call it Jerry Jones Suite. And they think it's special. So he wasn't in there.
Have you ever seen him get lit?
I've seen Jerry. That's what happened with Jerry and Jimmy got lit the night they split up.
Okay.
Yeah, they got lit. That was the problem. The alcohol was the problem. That was the problem.
That was the problem.
That was the problem.
Yeah, it
We-
works that way with a lot of people.
We had just beaten Buffalo, second Super Bowl, and Jimmy's saying it's my team, Jerry's saying it's my team, Jimmy's saying my team, Jerry's saying my team, and next thing you know, Jerry exercised his power.
Yeah.
It's
Whose
his
team do
team.
you think it belonged to?
Who did it belong to?
Yeah, in your opinion, who do you think should have it belonged to?
It was Jimmy's team. Jerry was the owner, but it was Jimmy built the team.
Yeah, you can only have one leader, one king.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boston Joe, what do you think about all that?
Well,
You
I'm
around
curious.
on that?
I'm curious about how that was as a player. I mean, you obviously have a lot of success with Jimmy Johnson. Then all of a sudden, Jerry steps in and kind of plays God. And then as a player, how do you adapt to a new coach after you just won it? That's a big change, and especially if you believed in Jimmy.
For me, it wasn't. You're forced to adapt because they're paying you money. You know what I mean? So it shouldn't be about the money. But what are you gonna do? Just quit because you got another coach in there? So nobody's gonna do that.
Did you like Barry Switzer?
I thought Barry was cool. Barry, see, the thing that Barry did when he came in, he's like, you guys just won 2 Super Bowls, so why change anything? So he didn't change anything. He didn't change coordinators. Whoever wanted to leave, they left. What coaches wanted to stay, they stayed. So Barry was kind of like this more hands-off, allowed people to do what they needed to do, and then he would step in and correct. Actually, for me, I was in North Carolina. I was back here, getting ready to enroll in school because I thought that I was going to get traded. It was Jimmy and I were just butting heads, man. So Barry called me on the phone. He says, hey, he said, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm getting ready to go to school. He said, you need to get your ass back here. We got a season going. You're a great middle linebacker. So that just fueled me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Fired you up.
yeah, it got me ready to go back. And after that, I'm like, man, I could do it with this guy. This is pretty cool. And then, a couple years later, I ended up right back with Jimmy Johnson. If y'all follow my
Right
career.
back in
Miami,
Miami, right?
Right back with Jimmy Johnson. So.
But I mean, did you choose to go back there with Jimmy because you guys had a relationship in the past, or were you trying to avoid that and it just happened that you ended up back in Miami?
I think what happened is that as a young player when you come in, I think when Jimmy Johnson drafts you, he drafts great players. He drafts them on their intelligence, the work ethic in the weight room, how smart you are. Believe it or not, I was an honor roll student at East Carolina, so he drafts you on, intelligence, the weight room, and your work ethic.
I saw leadership popping up in my research on you and also with team players on that team. Is that like a thing that they recruit? They want leaders playing for them?
I think that's any job you want guys that want to be leaders. But I think with Jimmy, to answer your question, our second encounter, he called me on the phone, and I'm getting ready to go to a wedding. I'm about to fly to St. Louis, and then my phone rang. That time, we still had the phones on the wall. Y'all remember that? Still the phones on the wall? And it was Coach Johnson. He's like, look, I want to bring you to Miami. I don't want to run you, none of that. I know what you can do. Forget all the combine stuff, but, when I sign you, you can't talk about anything that happened in Dallas. So I said, okay. That was easy enough. So, I didn't know exactly what he was talking about, but I'm like, I go play for Miami. So that's how we ended up. So I don't think it was ever my my ability to play with Coach Johnson. It was more that mentally being ready to play.
Yeah, I got you. That's awesome, man. Joe, I know that you're cooking today. What do you got going on over there? Is the grill fired up?
So we always do research prior to having a big guest on, and man, you had so many great locations for me to pick from, and I went with Dallas because I wanted to roll some smoke and use a smoker. So I rolled some smoke yesterday for about 6-8 hours. Christmas cooking, I had some stuff going on with my family, and the main reason I got the smoker going was for the pork belly. And I chose Dallas because, man, who the fuck doesn't love to smoke meat? I mean,
right.
Right. Just make as many jokes as you guys want to. Sick fucks.
Listen, nobody smokes more meat than Boston Joey over here.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So I what I ended up doing, you want to get into the nitty gritty on the cooking?
Yeah, why not? Where did you get the pork belly at?
So
it's been hard to find lately.
I got it from a local market, and it's funny, when I went up to the case, the butcher helps you, I said, let me get 11 pounds of pork belly. He was like, what? Yeah. Like, I literally cleared out the whole display case. And I ended up making a meat rub, and it's like deep, low, smoky Texan flavors. I used some Cafe Bustelo coffee, cinnamon, nutmeg, paprika, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, chipotle powder, and some brown sugar. So your traditional, Texan style rub. And then with our wonderful sponsor, Deep River Brewing, I ended up, we've been drinking all this fabulous beer while we're podcasting here, right? Yeah. So the other night I got home, and I'm stressing because, we did back-to-back shoots, and I'm like, man, what am I going to do? Let me have a beer. This will help me relax. So I pop open their Bad Barista. I think I got a picture of that and all. And I'm like, shit, this is delicious. This would be a great barbecue sauce. I'm cooking Dallas food. Yeah. So I reduced down 32 ounces of the Bad Barista ale, and it's got like really cool, like chocolatey, vanilla coffee notes to it. And that's how I decided to make the meat rub. Didn't call anything glorious, no clever names, just straight up meat rub. So I reduced that down, and then I smoked the 11 pounds of pork belly on applewood. Applewood kind of has like a sweet element. I really like fruit woods a lot. I like it better when I'm cooking on a grill.
What kind of grill did you use today? I mean, did you use like a standard charcoal grill? Pellets?
We have a beautiful picture of what my wife calls my girlfriend. She complains that I treat it better than her. I see it up on the screen over there. So that's Joelle. It's an Oklahoma Joe's. Go ahead and sponsor us, guys. It's an Oklahoma Joe's grill, and I did some modifications to it. And I asked my daughter, I said, we got to name this thing. It's majestic. And she said, let's name it Joelle because your name's Joe. Yeah. So we rolled with it. And I did an indirect heat off to the side and used primarily just applewood as I created my own coals. I started with a natural charcoal and then went straight to applewood the whole way through. And I did a 3-2-1 method. So if any of our listeners or viewers or any of you out there know anything about smoking, you do a 3-2-1 method, which means 3 hours on the heat. It ranges, 275 to 325 degrees. And then after the 3 hours are up, you wrap it or you change the way. So I ended up wrapping it in foil for a little bit for 2 hours, and then for 1 hour I came off the heat and let it rest. And the reason that I like to do that for tailgating is when you tailgate, we were talking about with you like to get shitty sometimes. So I wanted to, cook ahead of time so I can come and tailgate with a legend.
So it's kind of like one of our biggest tailgating tips is that we believe that just because tailgating is simple, it doesn't mean it has to suck. So we try to bring on these like really crazy bougie type foods. Yeah. But we cook them the night before so that we can hang out, and then we're just kind of like reheating them over the open fire. It kind of cuts down all the stuff that you have to bring to the tailgate.
Oh, I'd be a mess if I had to cook the whole day.
Yeah, but it makes you look so good when you show up to the tailgate and you're bringing out pork belly.
Yeah.
You like barbecue a lot. You're an East Carolina guy, so you have to.
I'm North Carolina barbecue.
Man.
I'm North Carolina barbecue. Now, I'm sorry. Anybody North Carolina barbecue in here?
Oh, yeah.
I'll eat it.
Man.
I'm going to change your opinion today.
I mean, I'm not saying I won't like it. I'm not saying I won't like it. I just
Did you have a hard time in Dallas trying to explain to people what Carolina barbecue was?
I did, man. I really had fights. I had fights defending North Carolina barbecue. And it's, that's just vinegar. It's just vinegar on meat. I'm like, no, this.
So funny story about that. When I moved, I'm from Philly, and I come down here and to open a restaurant, and my friends were like, "Have you ever had Carolina barbecue?" I'm like, "Oh," and I'm thinking Texas style, because up in Philadelphia, the prominent in New York, the prominent sauce you'll see is that red thick sauce. So I had it at a Duck Through, which is a shitty little Stop and Rob. And I was drunk, and I had like 6 of them, man. And it was all the way. What is all the way?
Coleslaw and
Coleslaw.
yeah.
I can't remember what all the way. So she was like, "You want all the way?" And I was like, "Hell yeah! What does that mean?" So.
Yeah, all the way for me
found
is
out.
you add the pork and beans. I like to put the pork and beans on top of my barbecue.
I had it that
and
way.
the
No,
coleslaw.
I don't mix
You do
all that.
You don't mix it?
No, I
You're
have
a purist?
The sandwich and the meat, man. The bread and the meat.
Let's say it's
I
gotta
don't,
be.
I don't put the coleslaw on it. None of it.
What kind of bread do you like? The Hawaiian rolls, or do you like?
Hawaiian rolls, man.
No, that's the best.
Man, you get Hawaiian rolls is, oh my God.
Goat rolls.
Y'all get me hungry now,
I
man.
love it.
Good.
Well, good,
I'm
because
gonna
we're gonna
feed
be
you.
eating
I'm-
pretty soon.
Like I'm not in. There's Texas barbecue that I've eaten, and it's been pretty good, but you can't beat that.
So when you do the Carolina style, it's really about technique, because if you're just doing meat and bread, that meat better be cooked right.
It better be cooked right, but here's why I have my own logic or reason or philosophy of why I like Carolina barbecue better. See, when you come to North Carolina and you say, "I want a barbecue sandwich," or barbecue, everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But if I go to a Texas barbecue place and say, "Can I have some barbecue?" they're going to look at you like,
You don't know what, yeah.
"Barbecue what?"
It means a lot.
So here it's a noun, there it's an adjective.
It's true, man.
It's an adjective. Like, barbecue what? And then they, like,
I'm going to steal that. I like that.
but it is. It's like, here it's a noun. Like, you can say, "I want 2 barbecues." And they know what you're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a place in it's Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. It's called Rudy's. You've heard of Rudy's?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the famous barbecue out there. So I went in there one day, my first time in Rudy's, and I'm like, they did have chopped barbecue in there. Okay? So I said, "Can I have one of those barbecue sandwiches?" And then the guy just stared at me. So I'm like, this food don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm like, but I didn't understand that it switches when you cross the state line. And
I didn't know until I moved down here, man.
they have like baked chicken out there. And if it's sold at a place that sells Texas barbecue, that's called barbecue. I'm like, how is baked chicken barbecue?
Right? Yeah, I'm on the same page. on that.
Anything that's cooked on a grill is barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go to Los Angeles, you can put shrimp on the grill. Oh, what you doing? Barbecuing? You got barbecue on the grill?
No, you're grilling.
Like, no, I'm grilling. I got shrimp on the grill.
Yeah.
That's all that is. It's not barbecue. So for me, it's like everybody else doesn't make sense. North Carolina makes sense.
Do you tailgate at ECU at all?
Yeah, man.
Do you like
a lot.
tailgating at ECU better than Dallas?
I like tailgating better at East Carolina.
Yeah.
East Carolina people know how to do it, man.
Right. What's your favorite East Carolina rivalry game?
Rivalry? It was Virginia Tech when I played.
Yeah.
But now I don't even know. Until we start winning, we won't be able to have a rivalry.
So you were the most accomplished linebacker, or probably defensive player to ever play at ECU. Do you do a lot of things with ECU still?
I got some things in the works, but I try to help recruit players, get better players in there, because that's probably one of the main things that we need is getting just better, more productive players in there, and I think it's going to help the program overall.
Right. You mentioned that your one of your sons is playing for NC State now.
Yeah.
Now, does that make you like a full-blown NC State fan now, or
No,
you
I
hold
mean,
on to it?
Are you conflicted with that? Did you want him to go to
No,
ECU?
I mean, since we being real and we on what's the name of the show
Drinking
again?
Bros Sports.
Drinking Bros Sports. Since we being real, my son Levi, is an outstanding linebacker in Texas. And Levi went to University of Southern Cal. So in Los Angeles, there's a lot of things that are permitted that you can do that you can't do, in a lot of other cities. And so I felt like as a dad, it was time for me to intervene, and it was more important, for me to be concerned with his life rather than him being a football player. So sometimes you let them go, you let them follow their dreams, and then, when they get out of hand, you got to reel them back in. So I reeled him back in, got him straight, and I'm like, no, you can't even go 1 hour away from me. It's 10 minutes. Yeah. And so he's doing great. He's made the honor roll. He's doing good in football. So, I mean, it started out, good, ended up, kind of shaky. But then, I stepped in as a parent to bring him back in.
And having that you have that many children that are all pretty successful already, right? You're obviously doing it right as a parent. I'm a father of 3, but my kids are young, so I'm not there yet. What have you done? Because a lot of parents, they live vicariously through their children. They ruin their lives. I can imagine a football player, trying to put that onto their children, and then they come, they rebel or whatever to go south. But none of your children have gone sideways.
I didn't want any of my boys to play football.
Really?
But I wasn't going to stop them. That's what they wanted to do. Right. Zay, he didn't get recruited by anybody. So he's like, Dad, if I could just get a shot at East Carolina, I'll go play for him. So I said, okay, well, let's call Coach Ruffin, see if he likes what he sees. And I called him, sent him the film. Coach Ruffin said he looks like a joystick. I want him. And so, nobody else recruited Zay. And he came here and he proved the nation wrong, just like he's going to prove the NFL wrong once they give him, his legitimate shot. But anyway, I never wanted any of them to play. Wow. Because it's the game is it's changing every year, and then mentally it just rips you up. It hurts you more mentally than it does physically.
And it's
why is that?
Politics and
just the politics, just like what Zay's going through now. Nobody can figure out, earlier this year we thought he was going to get traded from the Raiders. If you go all the way back to the beginning of his career, he's with Buffalo, he's doing good, and they're playing Carolina. Then there's a pass that's thrown in the end of the game. He misses the pass, and then he can never recover from that, from a perspective of where people don't look at you as a human being. They look at you as this outstanding athlete. You should have caught it. I don't care if it's thrown, way over there. It's like you got to be Stretch Armstrong to just go get the ball. So he couldn't recover from it.
Is that he couldn't recover from it, or the people that are watching couldn't recover from it?
I think the people couldn't recover from it, but he couldn't recover from it either because all of that pressure, the media,
Is that a social media thing? People on Twitter?
Social media, people coming at you. So I tried to step in as a dad and fight those people, man. You cannot fight Buffalo Bill fans. No, you just can't fight them.
They actually, as we've learned from Buffalo fans, is they actually jump off of things to break tables.
Through tables, man.
Oh, man.
Well, when you lose 4 Super Bowls in a row, you do crazy stuff.
Yeah. Do you tell him to stay off of social media? Do you tell him not to watch? Do you tell him not to? Do you not tell him not to watch the Sports Centers and the ESPNs?
He's been pretty smart. I mean, Zay's one of those guys that he knows what to do and he knows what not to do. He's grown and he's stronger mentally, but it's just one of those deals where, for my boys that I've always wanted to avoid for them. You know what I mean? That's probably. It was never the physical part. The physical part of playing this game is nothing compared to the mental side of what they do. And so I'm not going to put it up now, but just a couple of weeks ago, Zay he got up one morning and he texted me, and his throat was sore and he was feeling like I feel sick. He's like Pop, I don't even know how in the hell you did this, to be married and having to manage a wife and then the kids and then go out here and play and then deal with these coaches. He's like, man, my hat's off to you. I love you.
How did you do it? What was your secret? Because a lot of guys fail at that.
They do, man. I mean, I think because of my background and where I came from, nothing could be worse.
What was your background?
My mom was murdered by my dad when I was 3 months old. So I got to live with my aunt and uncle, and then my uncle murdered someone. So he goes to prison. So I was a product of a single parent all the way up until I'm about 14 years old. And
how the hell did you rise above that adversity, man? I mean, that is like...
I don't know. I don't even know.
Was it a conscious decision that you made?
I will say this, that, I'm not a religious person, but I'm a good Christian guy. Sure. And when I say that, I say it from a perspective, that I do believe that what you're missing in the natural, God gives it to you in the spiritual. Sure. And so I had a high school coach who adored me. And, he paid for me to go to East Carolina. Now when you pay for a kid, you can get in trouble. But he paid for me to go not to East Carolina, to Fork Union Military Academy. That's and I spent a year there, and obviously I got offers everywhere. And he just stuck with me throughout my career.
Because you were an honor roll student.
Yeah.
After
I was honor roll. My first year at East Carolina, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna put it out there.
Sure.
I don't feel like I'm embarrassing myself. I think it's something that people can learn from. My first year at East Carolina, I'm thinking, because I watched the Washington Redskins, Dexter Manley. I heard all the stuff about Dexter Manley, like he made it to the NFL. He didn't do good in school, but they let him just get through. So I'm thinking, I go there, I do what I want. So I hardly went to class, didn't study, didn't do anything. And I think my GPA was a 0.9.
What?
Yes, it was a 0.9.
Still better than my GPA ever was, because I didn't go to college.
And so I'm putting it out there because, for me, that's when my coach came to me. I think Steve Logan, and Bill Lewis, and it's like, if you do not get it together, we need at least a 3.0 for you to be eligible to just play, or football's over.
Yeah.
So from that point on,
it was game over. I mean, that's
academically,
amazing
I got my act together.
But the fact that you can get your act together and you can turn it on like that and turn it off is pretty incredible. And then you come, through all of that, and you raise all these beautiful children who are doing wonderful things in life and that are genuinely good people. You don't hear, any negativity coming out of the Jones family. Is that something that you instilled in your family, or did you tell them like, hey,
Well, they're normal. They're normal, and I tell you, we have experienced some negativity. So it would be negative from the fans' perspective, because when you
sorry, everybody's getting an Amber Alert right now.
Amber
on their
Alert.
I see like
Amber Alert.
Everybody's phones are going off at the same time.
Somebody tell Amber to
remain
shut
calm.
up.
It would be negative from a fan's perspective. I've always cautioned my boys in each step that they get, the older they get. I'm like, okay, here's what can happen. This is what can possibly happen. And so, for Caleb, Zay, and Levi, they were the first three out of the house. And I'm like, generally women are not bad. It's just that, when you put yourself in a situation and when you see a bad situation, you put yourself in a situation where, you tempt them, then, things could trigger their minds and make them want to react. And so,
sure.
I just don't think everybody's bad. It doesn't matter what race it is.
Sure.
The thing that happened with Isaiah in Los Angeles, it's painful to talk about, but, obviously everybody could tell that was an issue where, he was on something. Isaiah doesn't do drugs.
Sure.
He doesn't touch any drugs. I mean, he's like this. He's always grown up as this kid in between commercials. He's doing push-ups. He's a health nut. He's like, no, I don't want to eat bacon. I can't eat this. I have to eat this. I have to eat oatmeal. Like, he's still like that. And it's just a daily regimen that he has for his life. And so, he's one of the ones. He was one of the kids of mine that when my wife and we wanted to go out, I left him in charge. I wouldn't even leave my oldest son in charge. I'm like, okay, Isaiah's in charge. You understand? Now, if he tells me something different when I get back, somebody getting their ass whooped.
Right.
So,
Well, that leads me to one of the questions I want to ask you is, during my research for you, I mean, you know, no disrespect intended, but it seems like you and your wife piss excellence. Like, these kids are amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
How
even in
did
their
you do
low,
that?
they're still pretty amazing.
I want to know how to do that so my kids are excellent.
I mean, like, even in their lows, their lows are still pretty high.
Like, you guys wake up and eat thunder and smash lightning in the morning, you know?
I think we spend a lot of time with them, you know. Trust me, we've been threatened by our kids that, you know, we'll call 911 and we'll call the cops on you. And so I would counter and I would say, go ahead, call the cops. You know what? They may put me in jail, but I guess what? They'll take you away from me and then they'll put you in a home and you'll be with about maybe 15, 20 kids. You'll be in a bunk bed. You won't live this lifestyle no more.
Right.
So you can, your choice.
I remember
That's
my
amazing.
mom, I used to tell my mom,
Amazing.
I'm running away. I'm running away, Mom. She'd be like, okay.
We've all done that.
All right, because
Bye, Felicia.
I literally clean your room, make you food, give you rides to and where you want to go to, buy you all the stuff that you want to buy. Go ahead, run away and see what happens. You get halfway down the block and you're like,
I made
wow.
my kids work, man. I made my boys do outside work. I mean, they had to rake leaves. They had to mow lawns. It wasn't easy being my son. It wasn't easy being my daughter. Because I want my boys to be able to fight and defend their family, and I want the girls that if they run up on a sorry dude, they can do it themselves.
Right. Like they know better.
They can do it themselves. So I have a strong daughter right now. Like, you know, she just had our first granddaughter, and like, man, she was working 2 jobs.
Wow.
You know, pregnant all the way up until about 2 weeks before she had the baby, and just busting her behind. She told her boyfriend, it's like, hey, look, you know, you gonna do this with me, or I do it without you.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
Bottom line, I'm gonna do it. So,
Right.
so I like that.
And that's got to
So,
make you so proud. You know what I mean? Like, that's got to be every
it's-
parent's dream.
But it's tough when they're little kids, because you kind of remember them, you know, as those little kids. But as they're going through it when they're little, you know, it's like you kind of feel bad that you're doing it to them. You know what I mean? But
tough
but
love.
then it makes them tough when they get older, because you know they're gonna get to that age where they're older. You know.
I think society's missing a lot of that. Yeah, I think
Yes, I mean they took the belt and the switch out of the school, man.
you can't do that.
Like, my principal whooped my butt.
Joe and I were both police officers. We're not anymore, but we were police officers. I mean, I can remember so many times other parents calling 911 on parents
It's ridiculous,
that were
man.
spanking their children.
Yeah.
And when I get there, I'm kind of like, wow, well, that's great. It's awesome to see that somebody loves their children this much that they would spank them. It's a
Some
it's
of
a
my
conflict.
best memories were
It's
getting
just-
my ass beat.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
let me tell you one quick story. I got my last spanking when I was 16 years old. My dad said, you're not allowed to go hunting without me. And my buddy came over and wanted to go shooting and not hunting, so we went shooting guns. And so I came home with my gun, and my dad was at home. He was a postman. And he was sitting at home, and he was sitting on the swing out on the front porch, and I come up with the shotgun, and he said, I'm 16 years old. He said, I thought I told you that you weren't going hunting unless I was with you. And I said, well, Dad, I didn't go hunting. I went shooting. And he's like, oh, that's not how we play this game. He's like,
You want to play semantics?
right, you want to play semantics? He's
you wanna
like,
play
you're
games?
grounded. I'm taking the shotgun away. It's no longer yours. And you're grounded for, I don't know, it was a long time, a couple weeks. Well, anyway, prom was coming up on that Friday, and I was grounded. And my mom took me out to go get tuxedos and the cummerbund and the whole 9 yards. And so we get the tuxedo and everything, and I come home, and I'm so proud. I'm like, Dad, check out this tuxedo. You know, I had like the seafoam green because it was the 90s, and seafoam green was like the cool color back then. And so I was like, yeah, check out this cummerbund, man. It matches. I got the bow tie. It's going to be awesome. And he was like, oh, when is prom? And I was like, Friday. He's like, yeah, you're grounded. You can't go to prom. And I said, Dad, come on, it's prom. I'm 16. Like, I have to go to prom. He's like, no, you're grounded. Well, I waited it out, and Friday came, and I'd already had a tuxedo because my mom worked at a funeral home. And so she got me a limo from the funeral home. Still had the tissues and everything in it, little prayer books and everything. And so I'm getting all ready to go, and my dad's like, what are you doing? I was like, man, I'm going to prom, man. Mom's going to let me go. And he was like, you're not you're not going to prom. I was like, so my mom was like, I'll take care of it. So my mom goes and she starts talking to my dad, but you got to let him go. You got to let him go to prom. So he says, well, tell him this. I'll let him go to prom, but he doesn't just get to miss out on punishment. So if he wants to go to prom, he can take a spanking, and then he'll be off of being grounded.
How old were you?
16 years old. So my mom comes in, she tells me, I'm like, no, that ain't happening. Like, I'm not getting spanked at 16 years old. So like, it's 30 minutes before prom. The girl's already showed up. I've given her a corsage and everything, and he gives me that pointer finger like, come here. So we go out there, and he's like, hey, I don't want to cause a scene with you in this tuxedo, but I'll promise you this. You won't walk out that door unless you've had a spanking first. And I was like, are you kidding? And he was like, I'm really not. And he was like, whatever you think is going to happen when you get out in that door, it will happen. I will make a scene in front of you, God, and everybody here. So I said, well, how do we do this? He said, you step out in the garage, and I give you that spanking, and then you go to prom. So I go out, I drop my tuxedo pants down. He makes me put my hands
Bare ass?
on the workbench. I had underwear.
He went straight to that ass.
And I had silk underwear on too, because it's prom.
Smooth.
I want to meet your dad. I want to meet your dad. 'Cause he had an agreement with you.
He had it. And so he swatted me, and that got me off of being
Just
grounded.
once?
No, it was 3. It was a fish fillet paddle too. So it went straight to the bone. And I don't think his intentions were to hurt me or anything, but it was a lesson. It was, no, you did the crime, and you're going to do the time one way or the other.
That's right, and that's how life is.
It is.
That's what I would tell my kids. I'm like, that's how life is. It's like you can't just do something and just get off. Go over here to your mom and just get off.
Right.
No, you're gonna pay for it one way or the other.
So getting my ass beat actually led to me becoming a chef. I grew up with
I'm never going to beat my kids then.
a very strong,
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
a very strong-willed mother, and she would beat me with a wooden spatula, and she went straight to my ass. And I thought that I was slick one day. I was like 7 years old, so I took that spatula and broke the hell out of it. Took it up in the room. And I was like, "Fuck this spatula!" And I broke it over my knee, and I was like, "Oh, I really messed up." So I know honesty was like a big thing in my house. So I brought the spatula back down to my mom. I said, "Mama, I messed up. I broke your spatula." She said, "It's all right. I got another one." She broke it out and beat my ass with that thing. And then I started cooking.
Is that the same spatula you used to flip those latkes over there? Hey, have you ever had cowboy latkes before?
Cowboy lockers.
Latkes.
Latka.
Well, yeah, I know you've had a cowboy locker. A cowboy latke is a smashed potato, essentially. Does latke mean something, Chef Joe?
No, I've never had one.
So latkes, this is a play on a true latke. Noel, are you on right now? So potato pancakes is like a Jewish or Eastern European tradition, and it's usually made with shredded potatoes. But in a previous research and development that Eric and I did, I said, hell, let's smash some potatoes and put them on the griddle and call them latkes. So basically, they're seasoned in the seasonings that I talked about earlier. I used the same meat rub for these potatoes, and I par-cooked them the night before, got them just slightly cooked enough where I could smash them, and seasoned them up real nice.
For those of you out in the crowd, what he's doing is he boils a potato. What are you using, red-skinned potatoes?
These are Yukon Golds.
Yukon Gold. So you take the Yukon Gold and you boil them just to the point where they're mashable, but you don't mash them. You take them out. I let them cool. And then what I do is I let them get really warm. I let them cool until they're still warm. And then I lather my hands in butter, and then you smash them like a pancake.
Oh, yeah.
And you get them real nice and tight, just like you were playing with Play-Doh. And you just throw them on the grill, or in this case, the griddle. Or you put the griddle on the grill, and then you put them on there, and the smokiness from the grill, and it basically makes a potato pancake that Chef Puhak calls a cowboy latke.
So one of the cool things.
I've never had one.
Oh, well, you're gonna have
You'll
one today.
like it.
And you know what? It's super simple to do. And my kids love potato latkes. I do them all the time now. My wife, she's a big fan of it.
You are a chef.
No. I learned whatever he's doing the night before, and then I go home and try to impress my wife with it.
It's funny because he'll send me all sorts of pictures of like awesome things he's making, and like he'll tell me where he messed up or where he really like succeeded.
But it's all where Chef told me. It's what the Chef Puhak told me. But another great piece of advice that I ever got from my thing was, don't say anything to your wife or do anything to your wife that isn't going to get you laid at the end of the night. And if you always have that in mind, you'll have a great marriage. So one of the things I do is, I know that feeding my wife really good food will probably get me laid. So I try to make really, really good food and impress her to get laid. By the way, talking about getting laid on a podcast doesn't get you laid. So I'm going to stop now.
Hey, she's smiling right now though.
Yeah, because she knows I owe her now.
I just do what mine say.
Yeah.
Whatever she say. Like, I'll be her sous chef or,
Right.
you know, when she say
Nothing
go,
wrong with that.
go to the grocery store and get this or do that. Like, I found it easier, man. I've been married for 28 years now.
Holy cow, 28
Yeah, 28
years.
years.
That's amazing.
What haven't you accomplished in this world? Super Bowl champion, crushing guys as a linebacker, married for 28 years, 6 awesome kids. Come on, man. You got to
Married for
pat
28
yourself
years,
on
yes.
the. You got to pat yourself on the
I
back.
told
a
you he
little bit.
pisses excellence.
Goodness gracious. Like, I want to be you right now. Like, man, this is what I want to be when I'm married for 28
But
years.
it took me, believe it or not, man, I've only gotten it right in the last 5 years.
Oh,
Because
okay.
for 23 years, man, I was just trying to, you know, when she said, can you give me a little hand in the kitchen? So I would think, you know, I don't know. Maybe I need to turn the light on in the kitchen. Or something.
Do you cook?
But now what she means when she asks for help is, I'll tell you what I want,
Yeah.
and then you do it.
Right. Without question.
So I do that now. That way, man, it's just been so much pleasant the last 5 years. It's like
That's great.
not a whole lot of fussing, you know what I mean? I go in the kitchen and I'm just kind of like this. I'll listen, you know, and I won't say anything until she says, "Can you say something?"
Yeah.
You know. So I'm like that now.
Yeah, you guys have any Christmas traditions that y'all do? Now that all the kids because all your kids are out of the house,
Probably
right?
everybody probably does the same thing. We like getting in the PJs the night before Christmas. Everybody, it's
Do
a
you guys do the
PJ
matching
thing.
PJs? Because that is a big trend right now. Everybody's got matching PJs.
It's
I
kind of
did.
hard. It's kind of hard for me to get some matching.
I did it.
PJs, but they did have matching PJs on, especially our granddaughter. Last
Okay.
night.
I felt rather emasculated when I did it.
That's right, because your family did the whole
Yeah,
matching PJs
yeah.
too. I'm not doing it.
Where are the
I did-
pictures?
I did it.
But where did that
It's
come
on social
from?
media.
I don't know,
you
but
can
I don't
find
like
me.
it.
You can see it.
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Where did PJs
It
come
made my
from?
daughter and wife smile. So
So what now?
it made my daughter and wife smile when I did it.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, we didn't do that. See, growing
No.
up in my house, and I told you part of my life, it was, you know, I was like a single parent, but at my house, you know, we put the Christmas tree up, man, 2 days before Christmas, and it's
Right.
coming down Christmas,
Thank you.
like
That's
on
the way I
on
like
the 25th of Christmas Day, that
Yeah.
night it's coming down.
I'm with you on that.
It's coming down.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up.
But
now,
you don't do that now, do you?
Oh no, now man, my wife, man, she's like,
That's up till January 31st.
this is no, yeah, that's how it is. This is no lie, and it's getting worse and worse every year. It's like we had, you know, September rolled around, and then my birthday is September 27th, and so then she starts putting up Halloween stuff. So I'm like, okay, so it's almost October, Halloween stuff. So right at about, it was not even Halloween yet, and she's like, honey, can you go out and get the Christmas trees? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, we ain't even had Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I'm like, we went past, we didn't even, we had Thanksgiving Day, like I deep fried a turkey. You ever
Yeah.
deep fried turkey?
Oh, yeah. I think it's the best way to
deep-fried
cook a turkey.
man. I deep fried the turkey. We had Thanksgiving dinner, but Thanksgiving, every Christmas decoration in our house was up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
It was up.
women are crazy about it. My wife, she woke me up, I guess it was probably just before Thanksgiving, and she woke me up, she gave me a massage. I was still half asleep. She gave me a back massage. It was awesome.
very nice.
One thing led to another, of course. And then she gets done, and I'm like, wow, that was incredible. What did I do to deserve this? She goes, hey, is there a chance that you can pull all the Christmas stuff down
Yep.
today? And I was like, oh, there it is. And of course I'm going to do that. I'll do anything.
Strings attached.
I'll do anything after
No,
that. I'll
I
do
was
anything.
pulling Christmas stuff out in October, man. Christmas stuff in October.
Should be illegal.
like-
It sounds like the nightmare
Like-
before Christmas.
Like my wife is like the Lowe's and the Home Depot store. You know how you
okay.
go into Lowe's?
Yep.
And they got Christmas stuff up in
Yeah.
September?
That's why they do it.
Bastards.
For what?
Because they know that it's going to rope these ladies in, and you're going to be
And then-
decorating your house in October.
And then it's like there was a I think it was a 14. Y'all see the big Christmas trees in Lowe's and Home Depot? It's the big
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. They're like $1,000,
So-
they're like $1,800
Yeah.
bucks.
So my wife was like, what are you doing today? And I'm like, I got
You better come up with
got
something.
I got a bunch of work I got to do.
Yeah.
She's like,
Stuff.
okay, before you come home, Lowe's has this Christmas tree, and I think it's 14 feet tall. I want that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, babe, you got two in the house.
And she's like, yeah.
that's about to start an argument. So that's when I realized, I'm like, okay, you about to start an argument. Just go get the tree and shut your mouth.
Yeah.
That's what it did.
Yeah. God bless. Well, man, I'm in so much trouble after this podcast. I'm going to be having 4 Christmas trees next year for sure. Boston Joe, why don't you blow us away with another sports update?
Blowy
what
with
do we got
Joey.
going on? Well, yeah, it's a little blowy with Joey. Boston
Well-
Joe, what games we got coming up this weekend?
Well, the biggest game right now,
Okay.
as we know, are the Raiders and the Dolphins. Your son's playing, but I'm dying to ask you. Your son's a playmaker. We saw the numbers he put up at ECU. He's a stud.
Yes.
As a viewer and as a father and watching,
Okay.
is it just infuriating to see Derek Carr not get him the ball? Because I can imagine it must be, because I've been watching and he's just not doing it. I don't know what he's missing out on. Are you ready to tell Gruden?
I'm going to answer that question like this. And I'm going to make that Buffalo Bill fan back there mad.
We do have some Buffalo. We have more than one Buffalo fan
I
out
see
there.
him in here.
I see a couple of
I've
Buffalo
already
shirts.
spotted them.
Jesus, we're Buffalo heavy.
I've already spotted him. If Josh Allen would have thrown him the ball like he's throwing Stephon Diggs the ball and he's throwing the rest, like Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in NFL right now. He's one of the best. I give that to him.
Bills fans
If
are
he
crazy.
would have thrown the ball, all he had to, because Stephon Diggs has dropped balls, you know,
Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley has dropped balls. All these guys have dropped balls, but they get enough thrown to them. Nobody thinks about the drop balls no more. So, you know, if you're only getting one or two throws thrown at you, and then you drop one of them, then it's emphasized more. So it does frustrate me that he's not getting the ball more, you know, like Derek Carr's not throwing him the ball. But I'm not going to say anything negative right now because that's the team that he's on.
How are the Raiders sitting right now?
They need to win this game. They're fighting for their lives, and so are the Dolphins. So that's why it's a big matchup for both teams.
Yeah, it's a big matchup for both. So both need to win. But it frustrates the hell out of me because when you watch, I mean, I think last week when they were playing, you know, believe it or not, Zay's open and he's looking for the ball, and then Mariota throws it behind him, and so he reaches back to try to grab it with one hand, running in this direction, and Troy just kind of stepped in, and I'm like, man, I ain't even say nothing to Troy either. And Troy stepped in, and he took care of nephew. He did. He took care of him, man. He's like, you know, that was just a bad throw that he threw behind Zay, and I'm like, man, these guys, when they get in trouble, they throw him the worst ball when they're in trouble. Like they're desperate to get it out the hand, then they throw him the worst ball, or they never throw him. And then for the next 3 or 4 plays, he's open. They don't throw the ball. And then, you know, these guys try to squeeze the ball in with their 4 defenders. And I think a big thing of why Buffalo is successful, one of the things is that if you take a look, Brian Daboll is the offensive coordinator, I think. Brian Daboll was on the sideline, Zay's his first year there. He was on the sideline. It is very hard for a coach to call plays and see the field on the sideline. You look
in
at
the booth is better?
You look at the successful coaches that have the successful defenses and offenses. It is not Buffalo's defense they're playing good, but it's not the defense that's holding them in the game. Buffalo gonna score some points on you.
Yep.
They're gonna score some points. I think Brian Daboll's a good coordinator, but now being in the box, he's able to see the field. He can understand, so he don't have to get on the mic and ask a guy what did he see. He can call what he sees.
Gotcha.
Well, since we're talking more about the Bills over there, I'd love to bring up a play that you were semi-involved in with Mr. Leon Lett.
Oh.
So I know the Bills fans are awfully quiet now when they bring Mr. Leon Lett up, but I mean, you were right there on the field watching that happen. Did you see that ahead of time coming? Were you like, uh-oh?
When Leon Lett fumbled the ball,
Right at the goal line, holds it out.
Bills have always had guys that were, you know, just kind of like those blue collar workers. It's a blue collar working, you know, city, town. And so those guys were just hard workers. And, you know, Leon just thought he had it made. And if you can see, he was trying to do what Michael Irvin used to do. Michael Irvin used to take the ball, hold it in one hand, and he had such big hands he could grip it and put it across the line, and then he would, it's just kind of like his style. So Leon was just trying to imitate Michael Irvin, and got it knocked right out his hand.
So you're blaming Michael Irvin for the Leon Lett play?
No,
how would Michael Irvin feel about that?
I'm not blaming Michael. I'm not blaming Michael Irvin because Michael Irvin played that position. He was good at that position, but Leon, he's what 6'7", 6'8", 310 pounds trying to run across the line like he's a wide receiver. I wouldn't have done that. I'd have just been holding on to that thing, man, for like dear life.
So let me ask you something else too. So you come into the league, you win Rookie of the Year, you win a couple Super Bowls, 3 and 4 years, right? So you didn't really deal with adversity early on in your career, but you dealt with it early on in your life. Do you feel like the stuff you had to deal with early on helped you when you did finally kind of get a punch in the jaw later on?
I think it did, man. For me, again, it's like nothing could get worse. It's like, I think the bigger thing for me is that I grew up in an environment where nobody liked football, believe it or not, meaning my family. So I played in 3 Super Bowls. I never had a mom or dad that came to a Super Bowl and watched their son play.
That is intense. Did you ever hold on to that? Like, were you ever sad the day of those games?
Absolutely, man. I've like high school football games on parents' night. I didn't have a parent to walk out with me, so I had to sit on the sideline while the other seniors walk out with their parents. College, senior night, when parents walk with you on the field, like I walked with Zay on the field on senior night, I didn't get to do that. Yeah. You won't find any film, or anything where I took a picture with my mom and dad,
right,
on the field. So normally people step in and help you, but, the background of where I came from, it wasn't that they didn't care. I learned late on in life that, the mentality that you couldn't get anywhere playing football. You ever watch the movie Fences?
No.
With Denzel Washington? Anybody watch the movie Fences? You go watch that movie, man. Okay. It's almost like it's my life. I almost feel like Denzel somebody found that, and wrote that story. But I'm probably gonna sue him.
Yeah. Yeah, don't sue him.
But no, I ain't gonna sue him, man. But Fences, Denzel played a dad that, he thought that having a job at the local grocery store was the right thing to do. And his son wanted to be a football player, wanted to be an athlete. And he told me, said, you can't get anywhere by playing football in the white man's world. So it's a sad story, but there's some redemption in there.
Right.
But that's how it was for me, because when my dad got out of prison, I literally sometimes had to sneak and go practice football. I had to lie and say I was at study hall or stuff like that, just so I can practice.
Man, that is. I feel like that should be a movie.
Who would play you in your movie?
Who would play you in the movie?
Denzel sounds like a good pick, right?
I mean, you're intense like Denzel.
So. Can I eat, man?
You do whatever the hell you want, man.
Well, I always say you're not a real foodie unless you take a picture. So I always have to stop and take a picture of my food really quick. Chef Puhak, tell us one more time what we're eating. By the way, for the listeners out there, Chef Puhak just brought us this this plate.
Everybody out there something?
Yeah, everybody's tailgating's getting a little food today.
The main dish is going to be cowboy crack, pork belly burnt ends, and I'm calling them crack because they're that good. Allegedly, crack is good, so I just went with it. And then the smashed potato latkes with Chef Joe's meat rub. So it seems like a lot. It's not much of a plating, but we're talking about tailgating. Sloppy, delicious, hearty.
Oh my gosh.
And, time of year, I want it to be warm, stick to your bones, goodness. So here we go.
That's so good. Did you get a selfie with everybody eating?
Oh man.
He does a selfie with us all eating.
You wouldn't
his
eat
food.
this before a game, though, right?
No, I probably wouldn't.
Oh, that brings me to another thing while you're eating. Did you, when you were playing at Dallas and you're driving, you're getting off the highway, coming to the game, could you smell the tailgate food? Could you see the tailgaters, or did you all come in from the back?
No. Sometimes we could smell the tailgate food. I tell you, when I played, the place where I smelled tailgate food the most was Green Bay.
All Green Bay.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Because when we drove into the stadium where the buses go, you drive through the tailgate. So you see the big kettles, and I think they had like soups and all kinds of stuff. And, that food you could smell.
Yeah.
Now, as a parent, I went to a Buffalo game.
Okay.
So I got the tailgate with the Bills, and
Break some tables.
Were they as crazy as everybody says they are?
yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
Good for them.
I do remember one time my wife and I we went with all the kids once, and then we went back by ourselves, and we were on the plane, and we were headed to Buffalo, and she's like, I don't know what the name of that little stand is, but we got to go there and get one of those Polish sausages. We got to get one of those sausages. So we were just on the plane thinking about the sausage for the tailgate.
Now,
couldn't wait. I wouldn't even eat that morning, man. I'm like, I'm waiting till I get to the tailgate.
You gotta wait till you get to the tailgate.
Wait till I get to the tailgate. I'm gonna get me 2 of them.
Let's get that food selfie. I want to get that in.
Yeah, if we'll look that way. He's gonna get a picture of us really quick. Last time I was making a ridiculous face.
Yeah, I zoomed in on it. And
Your
sent it
regular
to you.
face?
I'm going to continue to do it too.
Well, listen, back in your day, the Steelers were probably your biggest rivalry, were they not? Was that
Play them in one Super Bowl. Ain't that right, Buddha?
our production manager was a big Steelers guy?
His middle finger's up.
Did you see that? He flipped
Who
you
was
right
your
off.
big rival back then? Who did you wake up wanting to crush, wanting to play?
Rivalry.
It was personal to you.
For me, it was the Redskins.
The Redskins?
I wanted to play the Redskins. Yeah.
Can't call him that anymore.
We can. It's our podcast. We can say whatever
Call
we
him
want.
whatever.
I'm sorry. I
can
wanted
say
to play.
whatever we
I
want.
wanted to play the football team.
The football team, yeah.
All of them. I mean, that division was tough back then.
Yeah, like, I mean, football was tough back then. But how do you think football players now, like when you were talking about the politics of football and everything, like the politics now in football is so, do you think it's more or less or just different? Do you think it's hard for players to get past that, or is it easy for them to get past that? They just, they don't look at, again, I'm not a sports guy looking in. So for me, I have no idea what the players go through or they don't go through, but what do you think on that? Do you think it's harder for them to ignore the politics these days in the game? Or do you think it's more in their faces? Is it more of a distraction now than it was back in your day?
I think it's more of a distraction, but I also think this game. You ever ask yourself why these guys hurt all the time? Why they hurt all the time?
It's a gladiator sport.
Well, I don't know.
Especially now.
And
linemen
they're
are
faster.
Do you think that as you go back the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, and when you get to the 60s, they weren't even playing with face masks.
Right.
So you think the game was more physical then, or is it more physical now?
See, I don't know. I'm a rugby player. I played rugby for a very long time, and there's no pads involved in rugby. But I think that rugby players get hurt a lot less often
A lot less.
than other players. And I think it's because, one, it being your size, if you and I were playing rugby, you running at full speed, even hitting somebody like me,
wouldn't feel
is
good.
still going to hurt you from hitting me that hard.
It's gonna hurt
when you
like-
have to wrap up. When you have to open those arms and allow your nose and your face. So even you running across the field full speed, or me running across the field full speed playing rugby, I have to back off because I know the harder I hit this guy.
So you
the
think
harder
that
it hurts
the
me,
pads
too.
give like another level of impact?
I
helmet,
think so.
for
I mean,
sure.
come on, man. Those guys are like flying torpedoes.
Yeah, the helmet's
yeah.
a weapon. And I think that if you have guys who don't have good fundamentals, who don't wrap up properly, which a lot of guys don't nowadays, they go for that big
Well,
hit.
even when you can wrap up and you're a good fundamental, a good wrap, like Troy Polamalu, for example. Troy Polamalu can wrap up just as good as anybody else can, if not better. But oftentimes he would run across the field like a, full
Madman.
speed madman. And at that point, it's unrealistic to think that you're going to open your arms and absorb most of that contact when you can just clam up and throw
I don't
your
know
whole
how you
entire
guys
body.
get up after
and
you
Troy
catch that.
Polamalu got knocked out tons of times, or
He knocked
hurt
people
his
out,
head.
too.
Oh, sure.
I think there's two things that contribute, which is why I asked the question.
Go ahead.
Number one, I think in the off season they do too much.
Okay.
I think it's too much. That's why it's called an off season.
Right.
So I think these guys need, rest because it's essential to player recovering, his body's recovering. Even though he may not feel tired, his body just went through a lot with 16 regular season games, and then the ones that are fortunate get, the playoff games and then the Super Bowl. So it's a lot. The second thing is that when I first started playing football, I was taught that you go full speed until the whistle blows. I would always tell Zay, I'm like, when you blocking, I said, the receivers that get hurt the most? The ones that get hurt the most is that they don't go full speed all the time. When the ball snaps, everybody on the field, and you'll find guys that maybe if the plays are way over here, guys over here are more lackadaisical attitude. You have to go 100% every single play. I'm like, when you're blocking, keep your feet moving. Just chomp your feet. Just keep them moving 100 miles an hour until the whistle blows. The game has gotten so much now to where when you get to a quarterback, you have to stop going 100 miles an hour and then pick a part of his body that you have to hit. And you may not be hitting 100 miles an hour. You may be hitting 75 or 85. Right. It's like they've slowed the game down because they want to make it more finesse because they're trying to protect people. But when I played the game, there were less people getting hurt. There were less people getting concussions. You do your numbers, you do your stats, you do your homework.
I totally agree with you.
People
I think
went full speed back then.
The spike of, what does CTE stand for?
I don't know.
Anyways, it's basically the concussion syndrome, right? And I feel like the spike of that, and then with some prominent players, losing their mind and unfortunately killing themselves or other people, and I want to say the executives probably looked at it like, shit, we've really got to take care of these guys.
But and I say in football, and this is something I learned in my time spent in special operations in the Army and then as being a cop. I mean, there is a point when you've made up your mind of what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And it takes your mind time to process away from that. So if you're a linebacker and you've got your eyes set on a quarterback, your mind is set that you're going to hit that quarterback.
Smoke his ass.
And sometimes when he throws the ball, the time that you need for your mind to say, no, I need to back off of this guy, it doesn't work that way. It's not logical. It's not how your brain works. Those are the guys that get hurt. And you can't.
Because they're going too hard?
No, it's because they try to back off.
And then you'll pull up.
Yeah. And that's when your knees go out.
And you may have somebody else that's still going 100 miles an hour.
Sure.
The guys that get hurt are going halfway.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the guys that get hurt.
Okay.
Where do you see the sport going from here? Do you see them reducing pads? Or
two-hand touch.
Yeah, you don't think there's ever any?
Well, they do that with the quarterbacks anyway, right?
Yeah, two-hand touch. I mean, I hate to say it, and I understand that, concussions are very serious. I'm not overlooking that, but, when you play that game, that's what you sign up for. It's a warrior. It's a warrior type sport.
Yeah.
And they try to bring that over into rugby right now. And I think a lot of people, only because in my circle we're all rugby fans, a lot of people go over to watching rugby and appreciating rugby a lot more these days, just because it is more old school, that football. There's no running out of bounds. There's no protecting anybody. Everybody's the quarterback. Everybody's the receiver. Everybody's getting hit all the time. And kind of one of the things, and I think that motivates, especially in your era of football, when you look at Troy Aikman and you look at some of these other guys from that era, like they almost took pride in how tough they were. I mean, Brett Favre and those guys, I mean, they took pride coming out of those games, having been smashed several times and being able to walking away with bloody noses. Now if a quarterback's got a bloody nose,
it's different.
He's out for 3 weeks.
He's out for 3 weeks. And I'm not overlooking.
What's the worst you've ever taken? What the one guy that you didn't want to line up? Was there a single guy that you didn't want to line up in front of that you're like, fuck, I don't want that guy to get the ball?
No, see, the guy that I didn't want to play against, it wasn't because he was physically, better or tougher. It was more that he could cause you to lose your job.
Okay.
And that was Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lose your
I used
jockstrap.
to love big physical running backs, the Barry Words, the Christian Okoye's, the
ones that ran at you.
Yeah, the ones that ran at me. So I'm like, it's mano a mano. Like, we're gonna see who's a man in this one right here. But Barry Sanders, he'd run up in the hole, he'd back up, he'd go over here, he'd back up, he'd circle around here.
Right.
he make you tired, and then he'll run past you for a touchdown, and then next thing you know, 3 people fired after that game.
In today's NFL, who do you think is the closest to Barry Sanders? Is there anyone that you think that you watch that you're like, that guy's got Barry in him?
I don't know if there's anybody close to Barry, but I'm going to tell you somebody that I like playing. And, I may get yelled at and fussed at for this, but I think if they didn't have him, I don't think their team's that good, and that's Tyreek Hill.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Tyreek Hill.
I think if Patrick Mahomes does not have him, I think Patrick Mahomes is still a great quarterback.
Sure.
But they don't win as many games.
He opens things up for people like Travis
Yes.
Kelce, and
That's
for
right.
sure, he takes the top off. I mean, he's faster than everyone else on the field.
He's
so.
just lightning fast. He's special. You have to respect him wherever he lines up on the field, and I think it's just giving Patrick Mahomes, more options. I mean, Patrick Mahomes can run the ball. Obviously he can throw the ball, but when you got a guy like that takes the attention, where you got to either roll coverage, you got to double, you got to kick it to his side or whatever, then it leaves guys over here one-on-one. It makes it easier for a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Then you got to try to stop the guy in the backfield that's running the ball.
And they just picked up Le'Veon.
We're going to close out this podcast here shortly. I'm going to ask probably my favorite question of the night in just a second. Before I do that, though, we got some sponsors that pay for this show.
That's
First
right.
being Deep River Brewing Company, delicious beer
That's
yes. We've got a lot of Deep River fans in here today. Not only is it beer that's good to cook with, it's beer that's great to drink with.
I've had a hell of a time cooking with it, man. It's been so much fun.
It is.
You make good dishes out of a drink,
It's and I'm a big fan of that too. Like if you're going to make a wine reduction, if you're going to do something, use good wine, right?
Quality, yeah.
It's like you wouldn't wash your car with crappy car soap because then your car's really not
I
going to get that
had
clean.
this,
So
this
why use
mean-ass
shitty
chef
wine?
I did an apprenticeship with, and he talked like this, and he said, "Why, if you won't fucking drink it, why the fuck would you cook with
Right,
it?"
and I'm totally I'm for that. It's like washing your car with mud, right? You wouldn't do it, so don't cook with shitty wine. So Deep River Brewing Company, thank you guys so much for sponsoring us and for providing such great beer. I probably had too many this afternoon. Our next sponsor is Instill Distilling Company, makers of the finest rum in North America, winners of the gold in the John Barleycorn Awards. Yes, there's some Instill fans out there as well. And, just if you get a chance to come out and find their rum, you should. Also, Matthew Motors, the walking man's friend, locations. It's a car dealership located in Wilmington, North Carolina. Goldsboro? I always get Greensboro and Goldsboro mixed up. Goldsboro, and of course Clayton, North Carolina. So thank you so much to Matthews Motors and whiskeywear.com. That's whiskeywear, W-A-R-E, makers of customizable premium whiskey glasses. You can get anything you want on these. Matter of fact, there was a girl the other day that ordered one for Christmas that said fuckers on it. When asked why, she said, because I like to say I'm drinking fuckers. So she decided to pay the $20 and have that put onto a glass. Listen, it's not what I would have on my glass, but the point is you can put whatever you want on it. So my last question of the night, and then I'll send it over to you, Joe, in Boston, Joe, and you guys can ask whatever you want. But my last question of the night is quarterback that you've, because you were a headhunter. I mean, that's what a linebacker is, right? I know that you play a very nice person here on this podcast, a very humble man, a humble parent. But in reality, in your past life, you were a headhunter, a murderer on the field, so to speak. Was there a particular quarterback that you just enjoyed? Like a lion in the grass, he was your elk, your wounded deer. Is there any particular that you loved and wanted to take their heads off?
Oh, man, I mean, there's a couple, but...
Oh, a couple, come on. We got all day. Tell us about it.
I'm I mean,
Give us one. Give us a scenario where you felt like this is why I was put on this earth.
Yeah.
Was there a particular game, a particular quarterback where you were like...
The game was San Francisco.
San Francisco.
It was Steve Young. Like
Steve Young?
Like, I hated him, man.
Oh, was there a particular reason?
Because he was just good.
Because he's good. Okay.
Yeah,
all right, fair enough.
He was just good, and he was left-handed. He used to run that left-handed boot and come out there, and sometimes he'll run it. I'm like, I'm in position to intercept the ball, and then this fool runs the ball.
Yeah.
And then he ducks, so you can't hit him. And I'm like, I'm down there talking about his mama and everybody else. And
You were talking about his mama.
Man,
to his face? Could he hear you?
He's a good Mormon.
But he wasn't the type of guy that was like that.
He didn't
Stuff
care.
didn't faze him,
He
man.
didn't
It's
care.
like he didn't care. I'm like,
I bet you guys say some savage shit.
And believe it
when
or
you're
not,
lined up.
Jim Kelly and I were friends. We were friends.
Oh, Jim Kelly.
Yeah, so Jim and I were friends. It's like, honestly, I used to tailgate with him.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Damn him.
So Jim was more of a guy that could stay in the pocket. He wasn't going to run, so we weren't worried about that.
Right.
He was just going to stay in the pocket. I'm like,
Right.
that's why he was my friend. You
Yeah.
stay your ass right there.
Yeah, we're good.
Just throw the ball. But the guys at Randall Cunningham, I hated him. I hated Randall, and I hated Jeff Blake. Jeff Blake, I probably said too many bad words. I can't even.
Really?
I can't even
picture you saying a bad word.
Oh, man. You
did.
Give us an example.
I was bad, man.
Were you bad? Well, you gotta be. You gotta be when you're.
Got that little kid in here.
Oh yeah. He's got his football too.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
Well, listen,
have to line 'em up for
Warriors
an
do warrior
autograph.
things. Warriors do warrior
I
things.
said a lot of bad words, man. That's a lot
Who,
of bad
who,
words.
who did you like to talk crap to the most? Now you've got me feeling bad about swearing because it's a little child in the front. So I'm gonna have to say words like crap. Who was your favorite to talk crap to, or did you talk crap straight to anybody?
I did. I talked. Believe it or not, the latter part of my career when I was with the Dolphins, I talked crap to Fred Taylor. I think I hit Fred Taylor one time, and I'm like,
Just say it. Oh, man. Earmuffs that child. Earmuffs that child.
see, y'all want some real football
Yeah.
talk?
Yeah, we want some real football talk. This is Drinking Bros Sports. You put earmuffs on that child.
You guys are so inappropriate.
One time I hit Fred Taylor, and it was obviously at the Jacksonville versus Miami game, and they beat the crap out of us. And so when I hit him that time, I'm like, somebody come get this bitch now.
Yeah. What does he say? Does he just lay there like?
He doesn't say nothing, man. It's like,
Because he's trying to breathe.
Yeah, he said,
yeah, I did that to a lot of guys. Any way I could find a way to just get in their head. And once I got in their head,
you lived there, you decorated.
Yeah.
What was
set
your
up a
favorite?
couch.
Was your favorite lining up a quarterback, or was your favorite just picking up on a screen on time and destroying that? What was your one thing that you were like, please just give me this?
Oh, I go to bed dreaming like that the night before a game every week. Yeah. I'm like, I want to pick, run it in the end zone.
Okay.
And you know what? I did get it.
Yeah.
One or two times.
Sure.
It was actually, I was with the Dolphins. We were playing the Raiders. I actually sent a picture to Zay to show him. I'm like, I got a touchdown versus the Raiders now. You need to get a touchdown versus the Dolphins.
Pick six, right?
But
Amazing.
it was a pick six.
Did you have an end zone dance?
I didn't.
You
Man.
didn't
I
even
couldn't
think
dance.
about it.
I
Is that
couldn't
your only
dance at
one?
all. I couldn't dance. That was my only touchdown. I had a couple of picks, but that was my only touchdown. I was more of a, a guy, man, that was tackle to tackle. You weren't going to run the ball type of linebacker. I was a throwback linebacker.
Right.
But,
We were talking trash talk. You played with one of the best trash talkers ever in Dion Sanders, no?
Dion, you know what? Dion didn't talk trash.
Just off the field with the cameras in his face?
At the cameras, when Dion, one of the things I like about Dion is that he demonstrated a work ethic on the field during practice. Him and Michael Irvin used to go at it, man, all the time on the field.
That's
practicing.
quite a matchup.
And I think that's what made them great. But Dion didn't talk trash in the game. He was encouraging. He's the type of guy, he just knew the game, he understood the game, and I loved it.
What was it like working with Troy Aikman? Because you worked with Troy Aikman, right?
Troy was quiet.
Okay.
Troy used to call me Big Bad Bobby.
Oh, really?
And today when we do the Cowboy reunions, he's like, Big Bad Bobby. Yeah. So
Do you like watching him on TV?
I do, man. I get a his first year doing TV, he wasn't that good. Then obviously he got some training, and then he's great at it.
He's great at it. What'd you think about the potato latkes, the cowboy latkes that Chef Puhak prepared for us today?
Well, you look at my plate.
Oh, yeah, it's completely empty.
I told you I'd change your
I'm the
opinion.
only one that didn't finish.
So I know you.
I'm not saying I didn't like it, man. I wouldn't like it, just if you'd have had a North Carolina barbecue sandwich in this plate, I probably would have chosen.
Listen,
I might have to write a recipe for you.
One of my buddies makes and Chef Puhak and I both know this guy, and he owns a food truck called Carolina Braised. He makes a pork belly BLT. And so instead of bacon, it's pork belly. Instead of lettuce, it's coleslaw. And instead of tomato, it's a fried green tomato on Texas toast. And I love pork belly. But this right here, it was simple. It was amazing. The
Right.
potato latkes, it
Thank
just
you.
goes so well together. You know what I mean? And I think that's what a tailgate's all about when you
Yeah.
have the food. It's got to be simple, right? Because it's a tailgate. We're not Ruth's Chris.
Well, you know,
but it doesn't have to suck.
We say something similar every episode. You know, I want to fire you guys up and like, why should you make like shit ass grilled cheese and some nonsense?
Look who's calling me.
You know.
Oh, what? The head coach from Texas A&M is. If you FaceTime him,
No, I'm not gonna face it.
Put them on
I'll
blast.
call him back.
you're calling him back on our behalf.
Amazing.
We're important, Joe.
Can
He
we
used to be
ask
head
why?
coach of Texas A&M. Then he was head coach of Arizona.
Head coach of Arizona.
Then he just got fired.
I didn't want to say his name because I didn't know if you wanted us to or not.
Oh,
But
Kevin Sumlin?
yeah, no big deal.
Man, I talk to him all the time. Most of them recruited my son, my sons. So I just keep a relationship with them. And just talk.
Man, listen, we need to go and tailgate with you down at ECU. Maybe next year when we're
can
allowed
do
to
it, man.
tailgate, we'll come down there, we'll call you back, we'll get you back on the show,
Yeah.
and we'll do a tailgate, and we'll make some Carolina barbecue for you.
You know what, man? I'm just waiting. I just want this pandemic, to be over with.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's tough times, man.
Yeah, it's a tough time because I'm ready for the Christmas parties and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
gone now. But the New Year's Eve party,
Yeah.
man, we need some more fun in the
I
world,
know.
some more love in the
I know.
world.
I'm
We
tired
gotta
of getting those tests, man.
We gotta turn the news off, man. I tell you what, that is the biggest Debbie Downer right now. Is just turning on the news. They gotta come up with some feel good stories.
No, they don't do
It
that
is,
anymore,
man. It's like
No
I mean,
more field goal. No more field.
They
I
cause
think
divide. That's their
I
only
think
job.
people do understand that, the pandemic is
Sure,
real.
sure.
But I mean, some of these places are just overdoing it, man.
God bless, right?
I mean,
It reminds me of when the hurricanes
can
hit.
anybody in here answer this?
Go ahead.
Okay, because I know you've all
I
experienced.
probably can't.
You've all experienced what I'm about to say.
Okay,
You got to have your mask on before you come in the restaurant.
sure.
But when you sit down and eat, you take your
Hey,
mask
Well,
off.
COVID's
so
only
when you're
6 feet
seated,
tall.
you're safe. The virus isn't smart enough to come.
Right,
down
yeah.
here.
The
not-
virus is 6 feet tall.
So it won't get
Yeah.
you when you're at the
No,
table.
no.
But when you leave, you put
Yeah,
your
It hits
Yeah,
you.
you better put it back on.
You got to put it back on.
You gotta put
no,
it back
look,
on.
it's all ridiculous. There's a lot of ridiculous things. But it reminds me of like when a hurricane hits here in North Carolina, and you got that one reporter that's sitting in the ditch, and he's like knee high, and he's trying to pretend like the whole place is flooded, and like somebody walks by up on the road, and it's like toe deep.
Do they call that
that's like-
fake news,
It
dare I
is fake
say?
news. It's crazy, right? Like in the '90s, we used to have news stories where like the squirrel was, like they would have like the squirrel water skiing, and people are like, "Why the fuck are you putting a squirrel water skiing
Yeah.
on TV?" Now I'm like, bring the squirrels
Yeah, bring
back.
the fucking squirrel
Where are
back.
the water skiing squirrels? Because those were feel good stories that I miss, and they just don't
No,
have them
they don't do
anymore.
it
But
anymore,
I think that's why. That's why I like football and sports and tailgating, and what sports and tailgating should get more back to is that's an escape. That's your Sunday escape from
It's a
the
Sunday
world.
escape, man. It's
There
like-
should be zero politics. There should be zero anything. It should just be nothing about fun and entertainment and joy, because we have to deal with so much crap during the week. That football, I hope they find a way to get back to where it's just football.
You escape the world.
Escape it, right?
You
And
escape the
that's why we go to
world, man.
restaurants,
That's
right? And
what
that's
it's
why
about,
restaurants have
man.
themes, because if you're in North Carolina, you don't want to go to the back porch Carolina place. You want to go to a place like Manning's where it's set up where you feel like you're in New York. You're getting out of Clayton, but you're still being in Clayton,
That's
or
right,
you're
that's
going to
right.
the 42nd Oyster Bar in Raleigh, and you feel like you're in New York. You feel like you're at this really nice, fine dining restaurant. Actually, 42nd reminds me more of like Chicago cuisine in a weird way. But it's an escape, right? A tiki bar brings you to the islands, and football is kind of one of those things too, where it's
Yeah,
where
the
it's an escape.
pandemic's
But-
got its hands in every angle.
It really does.
Restaurants,
But not in our
sports.
podcast, it doesn't.
No, you're safe
No,
here.
it doesn't. You're safe from all that bullshits here.
Hey, so are y'all protected, man? Meaning, the government ain't gonna come shut you down, the mayor or.
Well,
They
I don't
can
think
try.
they can't shut
They
down
can try.
podcasts. YouTube, by the way, this is where we get to the point of the show, which is a great leeway. Follow us on podcast, your favorite podcast app. Drinking Bro Sports is shadow banned on YouTube, meaning that they keep us very low down.
Low key.
We're not allowed to even swear for the first 90 seconds, or they don't show us at all. I don't even know if we swore in the first 90 seconds or not because we don't care.
Fuck it.
The podcast app is where we get most of our viewership from. So please download us. Give us that 5-star review that keeps us up in the analytics. Give us a little comment if you really care about us. We don't ask for money for our podcast. It's a free podcast to listen to. Drinking Bros Sports is 6 days a week with sponsored by MyBookie.com. They've got all your betting analysis. With NFL starting on Monday, I think it's NBA on Wednesday, Thursdays is UFC. We're kind of the Tailgate Legend show, so we're kind of the more the fun, non-betting, non-sports related show. Also, Revel Nation, and big props to Revel Nation, Joel Givens and those guys. They've been hooking us up with a lot of athletes, a lot of stars, a lot of legends to tailgate with. They're also dropping Play You, which is a new social media platform, minus all the bullshit. It's going to be a real deal. It's a TikTok, Twitter. I mean, it's everything wrapped into one. I got lost playing on it for about an hour the other day. I had a lot of fun. I'm actually getting rid of all the social media webs on my phone next week. And I'll be switching over to Play You and Review as well in January, and that's going to be a lot of fun. But we really do appreciate all of our sponsors, and we appreciate all of our followers. And if you guys have anything that you want us to cook, if you have any specific game that you want us to tailgate for, please hit us up. Chef Puhak shares all of our recipes. You can follow him on Conspiracy Cuisine on Instagram and Facebook, or just simply Chef Puhak. Send him a private message. He'll give you any of the recipes that we talked about today.
It fires me up when, this week we've been on fire with all the promotion we've been doing. People are like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Hell yeah.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. We eat it up.
I want to know what you want me to make.
And follow us on Drinking Bros Foodies, Drinking Bros Pitmasters, Drinking Bros Sports. Drinking Bros is a big community based. Drinking Bros was a veteran community. It's got about 16 million subscribers on all their platforms. But Drinking Bros is that no man should ever drink alone, or woman should ever drink alone. And so it's a great community. And there's Drinking Bros cigar aficionados, Drinking Bros wine nerds, Drinking Bros everything.
I mean, literally anything.
So literally anything. And so we're super blessed to be on their network as a podcast.
Absolutely.
We got Boston Joe over here. We don't want to forget about him. We appreciate Boston Joe. Our producer, Noel White, production manager from Copper Still Records, Buddha. I'm not saying your last name. I'm not saying it. I can either call you Buddha or Ski. What do you want? Buddha's fine. Buddha Ski. We'll call you Buddha Ski because I like it. And by the way, Jesus is sitting behind you. We've had a Jesus at almost every episode. We have one here tonight, which is amazing. That means we are on the Lord's team. That's good. And look, Brian Holt, strongman, professional strongman, sitting back in the crowd. There's no way you're hiding because you were big as fuck, as we mentioned on our episode that we had you on. So don't even try to hide back there. Mr. Jones, thank you so much. I mean, gosh,
yes, sir.
it means the absolute world to us. Oh, and shaking a hand. Missed that. I missed that. We haven't shaken hands. Yeah, well, not the receiver that Zay is, not by a long shot. But anyway, from Drinking Bros Sports, Tailgate Legends, Chef Puhak, Boston Joe, Eric Tanzi. Until next time, guys, stay hungry.
Thank you, guys.
Criminally delicious.
Food was really good, man.
Go Raiders.
Let's keep it going, guys. Make some people hungry.